Lord, what fools these mortals be. So if you can't tell from the flowers in my hair and the sign beside me and the fact that I'm tied into this really fancy dress, the first book that we read in my Shakespeare class was A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is really funny. You probably have heard of the plot of this, even if you've never seen it or read it. It's about four lovers, Lysander, Demetrius, Hermia, and Helena, who go off into the woods one night and everything goes completely to crap because the fairies are there. So let's talk about it. So a brief synopsis for this book, which is actually kind of complicated and has a bunch of little plots working together. There are four young lovers in Athens, Lysander, who loves Hermia, and Demetrius, who loves Hermia, and Helena, who loves Demetrius. Well, Lysander doesn't have the approval of Hermia's father to marry her, but Demetrius does. So there's this big drama around who's going to end up with who. So Hermia and Lysander are like, we're going to run away to the woods in the middle of the night. Well, Helena hears them. If I tell Demetrius, and I tell him what's up, he'll fall in love with me because I helped him. That doesn't work. And then there are fairies. It's the king and the queen of the fairies, actually. It's Oberon and Titania. We said it any way we wanted. And their helper, Puck. And Oberon sends Puck on a mission to find love juice. Yes, that is what it's called. Love juice, to sprinkle in the eyes of Titania to make her fall in love with the first thing she sees. His first goal with this is to have her fall in love with, it's very complicated, have him fall in love, her. There's a lot of confusion here. Give me a second. Let me figure out what the hell I'm trying to say. Okay, Oberon wants Titania to fall in love with him so he can get a changeling child she has, because that's how a good marriage works. You just spell them into loving you to get what you want. But when she's asleep, they see Demetrius and Helena come by arguing, and he's just like, God, you're like the most repulsive woman I've ever seen. And she's like, please love me. I'm like a dog for you. And Oberon's like, I'm going to take pity on these mortals. When they go to sleep, just sprinkle the stuff in his eyes so when he wakes up, he'll think she's like the tits. And so he's like, you know what, actually, do that to Titania too, and then we're going to fuck off somewhere else. I actually don't realize how the next part happens, but anyway, Lysander and Hermia are asleep. Puck's like, that guy looks the same as that guy to me, so sprinkles it into Lysander's eyes. Well, guess who Lysander sees when he wakes up? It's not Hermia, it's Helena. He wakes up in love with her. Hermia's like, wait, I thought you were bae. And he's like, you're repulsive now. That's confusing. So Titania wakes up. She falls in love with this random ass guy, which, by the way, in another subplot, Puck has given the head of a donkey. He's on the front cover here. Right there, that's him. Isn't he great? Bottom, he's hilarious. So she's like in love with him. She's like, this ass is the best ass, and he's my ass. There's so much wordplay on ass in here, and nay, and hey, it's great. But anyway, Oberon realizes it's like, Puck, you got the wrong dude. And so he sends Puck to fix it with the right dude, except he doesn't unfix it with Lysander. So, spoiler alert, Helena is suddenly like the it girl in the woods, and Lysander and Demetrius love her, and Hermia is over here like, what is happening? I ran away from home to get married, and now nobody loves me. And also she's really short, and Helena's really tall, and there's a fun argument where she keeps calling her like a dwarf, and it shouldn't be funny, but it's hilarious, because Helena thinks this is a joke. She thinks they're all in on some big joke and making fun of her. Well, Oberon comes in and he's like, actually, this is awful. This is not good. We need to fix this. Everybody just go to sleep. Puck, fix the right ones with the right ones. And everybody's happy in the end. Titania, she doesn't forgive Oberon, and I think that's a loose end here, is that she, like, the last time you see her, not the last time, but the next to last time you see her, she's like leaving with him. She's like, tell me how I ended up falling in love with an ass. How about that? And so I can't imagine that conversation is going to go very well for them in their marriage. But everybody else ends up relatively happy and married to the right people. Demetrius wakes up and he's like, you know what? Actually, I do really like Helena. She's got it going on. And Hermia, you've just left me hanging too much. I don't know why I didn't see that Helena was great. And Lysander's like, cool, I didn't want to fight anybody anyway. So now I get my girl and everybody's happy. And then Puck comes over the end and sweeps the stage. And it's really good. It's very funny. Part of our class is performing it every week. And so watching different people interpret these characters has been so fun. But that's the background on A Midsummer Night's Dream. And now I get to talk about the book that I read that was inspired by it. So the book I read got its title from, and yes, I have a cheat sheet. It got its title from the Act 5 quote by Theseus, the Duke of Athens, which Theseus and Hippolyta getting married is kind of like, not the main plot, but it's kind of like the plot that moves the plot forward. Like, all the other things are entertaining, but this is the reason why anything's happening. But Theseus is talking to his wife Hippolyta, and they're discussing the events that have happened over the course of the play, and he says this near the end of the speech. That is, hot ice and wondrous strange snow. How shall we find the concord of this discord? And I think that's pretty relevant to the book that I'm reading, which was Wondrous Strange by Leslie Livingston. I couldn't find many books that actually utilize A Midsummer's plot. I'm sure they exist, but I couldn't find them. This one is not one of those books. This takes place during a play of Midsummer Night's Dream. Wondrous Strange centers around 17-year-old Kelly Winslow, and yes, I read this like 2 weeks ago. Kelly Winslow, and she finds out she's going to be playing the role of Titania in Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. This is great for her, except for there's actual fairies in this book. I don't remember a lot of the plot. I'm going to be real with you. This happened very quickly. It has Insta love, which I hate. It has, like, I'm naturally good at things, girl, which I don't really like. This cover art is both pretty and repulsive. I just don't like these kind of like 2000s like pretty model on the cover as if it's supposed to be the main character. I don't get it. But I'm going to talk about spoilers because I have to connect it to this somehow. She meets Sunny Flannery. Sunny Flannery is a changeling child that was stolen and serves for Alberon. They spelled it with an A, not an O. Alberon, the king of, is he the king of winter, right? You can tell how much I've retained of this book. But anyway, him and like Titania are not estranged, but kinda, and they've cut off all access to the mortal world. Well, Sunny is a Janus, and he protects the gate that's at Central Park, and like the rift will open for 9 nights, and then it'll be open all night for All Hallows Eve or Samhain, when this book is taking place. And he's drawn to homegirl here, Kelly, which again, ugh, I hate that. I just like felt drawn to you. And it turns out Kelly is not a mortal girl. She is actually the daughter of Oberon. Some people are out to get her. Who's out to get her? We think it's the Queen of the Winter, the Queen of Air and Darkness. What is her name? She's not in A Midsummer Night's Dream, so that's why I haven't retained her. Puck is in this too. He's been chilling in the mortal world, watching out for her, because he fell in love with the girl who stole her from Oberon, who turned out to be Sunny's mom. Oh shit! I just really don't care. Like, it wasn't awful. I did read it, but it's not A Midsummer Night's Dream, and it doesn't even feel like A Midsummer Night's Dream. Like, it doesn't feel fun and magical, and it's got A Midsummer Night's Dream in it to introduce the fairy plot. Oh yeah, and spoiler alert, if you've gotten this far and care, she's actually not the daughter of Alberon and Titania, which is what she thinks. She's the daughter of Alberon and the like queen of the fairy like winter stuff. So she's like half dark evil fairy. I don't fucking care. Like, I might read the sequel just to see, but it just wrapped up too nice. Like, she like gives Alberon her summer powers back, and then she still has her winter ones from her mom, and her mom just wants her back, but her mom's like evil, I guess, and like at the end she still gets to do A Midsummer Night's Dream, but like she bargained for his life but didn't bargain for him to stay with her, so he had to go back to the, like, I know it's stupid, he had to go back with the fairies and the like courts and stuff, and he came back to see her show. Like, I would have loved this in middle school. Like, I'm being real with you. It probably would actually be really entertaining if you were like a preteen or like a young teenager. I would have loved this because it was really simple. It didn't involve a lot of thought on your part. That sounds mean. It didn't though. You didn't have to interact with the material very hard to understand what was going on. But it just the magic just seemed too convenient, and it just seemed the insta love was not. I don't like that doting kind of thing. Like, is he the only guy you've ever met? You're 17 years old. You might just be sheltered. Like, he might not be that great if he's the only one you've ever really hung out with. This is not a good interpretation of this, but again, I don't think it's trying to be. It's not got the love triangles. It's not got like the focus on confusing love stuff. So there may be better versions of A Midsummer Night's Dream, like retellings or reimaginings out there. This is not one of them. This is if you're looking for a teen fantasy or a fairy-based story, which I rarely am. That's not what I usually go for and like reach for. The next thing we're reading in class is Merchant of Venice. So I've already got Shylock as my name back here is the next book I'm reading, but I think that might actually have the same kind of thing that this one does, where it's not based on the plot, it's based on people putting on the play, and that just feels lazy. But anyway, so that was A Midsummer Night's Dream and Wondrous Strange and a comparison. It's not a great one. Definitely read A Midsummer Night's Dream, and if you can watch it be performed, oh my God, please go see it be performed. It's so good. And it's so funny. Like, you won't have a problem with it. I think people get freaked out by the language in Shakespeare, that it's going to be too much for them to comprehend. The comedies are where you want to start, because it's just so easy to make it funny, and it's so easy to translate for you, a modern audience, because a lot of these jokes are still pretty standard. I told you they joked on Bottom being an ass for like half of the play because he's got a donkey head. Like, those things write themselves. So if you're going to, definitely read this or see it. I mean, read this if you want to read about fairies. I just don't read it though. Last but not least, I thought this would be cool every time I did one of these to share with you the popular quotes that come from these plays, because we quote things all the time from these and don't know where they came from. The first one I've got is, "The course of true love never did run smooth." You've definitely heard that. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays, which Bottom says after Titania wakes up and is like in love with him. He's like, "This is kind of weird, but you're right. I am a lovable bastard." This is a real good one you've probably seen, like on walls of nurseries and on t-shirts. "And though she be but little, she is fierce." And that is Helena talking about Hermia when they are about to get into an actual fist fight. Because she's like, "Yeah, she was a viper when we were in school, and though she be but little, she is fierce." So it's still a pretty powerful quote, but it's funny to see the context. And then lastly, "Lord, what fools these mortals be," which I think on a daily basis at a college campus. But anyway, I hope to do that every time I get, finished with one of these books. I can go through and pick out the quotes that strike me as like, oh yeah, we've heard those before. Hope to see you in maybe like 2-3 weeks whenever we finish Merchant of Venice. We have to actually, my group is performing 2 scenes from Merchant of Venice, so hopefully we can do something good. See you eventually.